my friend or my foe. I'm off the exit, draw. Yeah, she give me that claim as well. I remember back when I was younger, I was happy. Nowadays feel like no one understand me.
Hey guys, glad to be back with an exclusive unboxing video. As most people requested, we are going to unbox and do a full review of the all-new DJI FPV which was released few days ago. DJI is widely known for its commercial drones that are easy to use and friendly to newcomers, as well as for its content creation features for vlogs and even cinematography. With its new first-person wave drone, DJI wanted to make a splash in the drone flying community with a quad that toes the line. The DJI FPV shares features with high-end modular racing drones, but was easy enough for these beginners to get started, though it is missing a couple of features that would take it over their line. So let's get into the unboxing and see what it's like to fly the FPV. The unboxing experience itself feels very premium. Opening the box up, you are greeted with the striking sight of the FPV goggles and the drone, both of which give off a futuristic vibe. The goggles remind me of the Winter Soldier. Inside the box, you get the drone itself, controller, spare propellers and the necessary cabling, intelligent flight battery, FPV goggles and battery. Once you've removed everything from the box, it's a pretty quick setup before you're off and flying. But hold your horses, if this is your first time flying this drone or maybe flying a drone at all, DJI's virtual flight app will allow you to practice flying in realistic simulated scenarios before moving on to the real deal, and we highly recommend this. Including in the box is everything you need to fly. There is no attaching a GoPro to the front of your existing drone and no prior knowledge necessary. Talking about the design, the DJI FPV drone has a design inspired by DJI's past drones and takes cues from the other FPV drones. It is small and compact with a very modular design. Nearly all pieces can be easily ordered and swapped out should the very real probability of an accident occur. To help avoid crashes and a mangled drone, the DJI FPV drone has several sensors that monitor both its elevation and the ground's location as well as what lies ahead. Both the front-facing sensors and the down-facing sensors aid obstacle avoidance, which is not often seen on FPV drones to date. A single-axis camera sits on the front and can stabilize at least one axis but leaves out the other two axes found on the other drones that are more appropriately designed for shooting photos and videos. You can rotate up and down vertically. The drone sits flat on the ground before takeoff but has a forward lean as it flies through the sky. All over the drone are various light bars to make it easier to see and let you know what the drone is doing and when it is active. The goggles of the DJI's FPV goggles aren't exactly new. The company introduced the DJI FPV goggles in 2019 and currently sells the second generation model for $569. When you put on the goggles, I warn you, you might look weirder to the strangers. They aren't particularly ugly and no one is going to convince me any VR headset looks attractive, but the grey and black goggles are very angular and have 4 screw-in antennas, one on each corner. On the upper right side is a record button and a back button, and also a small directional stick. As with the controller, it took a bit of practice to remember where the buttons were and what they did, but I got the hang of things after a few flights. The FPV goggles don't have their own internal battery, so to use them you have to connect a small battery via a proprietary USB-C adapter. While it shaves some weight off the goggles, this approach makes things a little awkward. Fortunately, the power cord is long enough so that you can stuff the battery in a jacket pocket. It would be smart if there were a holder on the goggle strap though, but personally for me, I usually forget that the goggles are connected to a battery, which I place it in my pocket, so I have dropped the drone around 2-3 times and goggles are a bit scratched. I hope I get used to the fact that goggles are connected to an external battery and I don't drop it again. The controller of the DJI that comes with the FPV drone is similar to DJI's other controllers in shape and function, but has a few key differences. For starters, there are a few more shoulder buttons and there's no cradle for a smartphone as there's no need. You weave and control everything through the goggles. The right side of the controller has one button for taking photos and another for recording video, as well as a smaller toggle switch that lets you change flight modes, normal, sport, and manual. On the left is a single shoulder clicker that acts as an emergency stop and a return to home button. Next to it is a toggle that angles the camera to preset positions, and below it is a scroll wheel that lets you rotate the camera vertically. The controls are large and easy to use, but if you're new to using FPV goggles, it'll take a few tries to remember what each button does by feel alone. I had to lift up the goggles and peek down at the controller a couple of times during my first few flights. The motion controller DJI is also selling separately a one-handed motion controller that lets you fly the drone by moving your hand around in the air. On the right, we have the power button, and on the left, we have a button to start recording. On the other side, we have few more buttons. Red button says it's a lock button, and if you double tap it, drone will start, and if you press hold it, it'll take off. The trigger is the accelerator of the drone. How motion controller works is that while pointing the controller at any direction and press the trigger, the drone will fly in that direction. With single-handed, you can fly the drone to any direction. We have two other buttons. This big button is for the emergency brake and return to home button, while the small button is to change the drone flying modes. Here is a limitation though. We can only use normal and sports mode using the motion controller. I feel this limitation is safe where you can't use the manual mode using the motion controller with single hand. Well, about the drone, I'm here to tell you that the drone is fast. DJI's FPV drone has 3 flight modes: normal, sport, and manual. Normal mode is closest to the DJI Mavic drones and lets you zip along at a maximum speed of about 31 miles per hour. Sport mode is the next step up, increasing the maximum speed to 60 miles per hour. This mode also mixes in a few more manual elements while still maintaining stabilized flight and limited turn angles. Finally, manual mode is the most like drone racing. In this mode, the FPV drone can reach speeds of 87 miles per hour and you get full control over everything the drone can do. In some ways, it's comparable to turning off anti-lock brakes and traction control in a sports car. Even at 50-60 miles per hour, the FPV felt wickedly fast. It sped across a 600-foot field in mere seconds. I had to slam on the brakes more than once to keep it from crashing into a tree. However, if you find things getting out of hand, you can press the emergency brake and hover button on the controller that will bring the drone to a stop and make it hover in place. The FPV drone has 2 sensors on the bottom as well as 2 forward-facing sensors. In normal mode, the front sensors will slow the drone down if they detect an object. In the sport and manual modes, these sensors are turned off. The weave from the FPV drone's camera to the goggles was so immersive that I nearly threw up. I get car sick kind of easily. You couldn't drag me onto a roller coaster because the FPV drone is so nimble. It's easy to make fast, sharp movements in different directions, which for those who have inner ear issues will induce nausea within minutes. However, when I flew the FPV drone in broad, sweeping curves high above the ground, that quizziness turned into elation as it felt like I was soaring like a bird. The camera of the DJI FPV shouldn't be your first choice. If you're looking for a drone to shoot the video, it only has 2-axis gimbal and the drone's rotors appear in the frame, it still delivers some impressive footage. The DJI FPV has 1.5-inch sensor, the same size as found in the majority of DJI's Mavic drones, and can shoot 4K video at 50 to 60 FPS, but lacks some of the features found in those drones. And the battery capacity of this drone is about 20 minutes. I was practicing flying the drone in manual mode and was able to capture some cool shots, so just check out the video and let me know if I'm good enough to fly the FPV. Unlike its other models on our best drones page, the DJI FPV isn't intended as a camera drone. Rather, it's aimed at those who want to get a taste of drone racing. That's why the DJI FPV comes with not only the drone and controller, but a pair of first-person goggles that puts you in the pilot's seat. And to help novices, it has 3 flight modes from normal to, oh my gosh, that's fast. But more than the drone speed, the feeling you get when you do the goggles and take to the skies is like anything else. That's the reason enough to pick up the DJI FPV. Well, in the box, we don't get a bag to carry the drone, and yeah, DJI FPV isn't foldable, so I had to buy a bag which would fit the drone inside safely. FYI, this isn't a sponsored video, but I will leave the link below in the description if any of you guys want to buy it. So guys, what do you think about this drone? Comment your thoughts down below, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell notification if you already haven't. Till then, I'm Amani signing off from Geek Forum.